Hi, welcome to Channel Squared, where we connect with you, the divine, and channel here with you live. I'm Heather Marie, founder of Soulgate.
And I'm Jody Lynn Craven, founder of Abundance Consciousness. And today we're talking all about freedom.
Freedom!
That's
Yeah.
right. I think last week you were saying, this is a pivotal time in our lives and one that will impact not only this generation, like us, this generation, but generations to come. This is the great ascension. This is the great awakening. And we all chose to be here at this time and play different roles. And, if you've watched previous episodes, you've heard us talk about different roles that people are playing. If you didn't, you should go watch those right now. Be a part of the conversation. But we wanted to talk about freedom because there's a lot of things heating up astrologically. There's a lot of things heating up in current events and news. And doesn't matter where you are in the world. I had this conversation with a friend yesterday about a completely unrelated topic. And she's like, where do you move to in the world that isn't being impacted by this? And I think we're all in this together, which gives me hope too, because there's more of us than the opposition. So freedom.
So, where should we begin? I think we should start with maybe some history about where freedoms have been stripped. We can look back in history on areas in our life where things have very slowly shifted and moved into more control over the population. And, I'm just going to say it how I see it. And, this may completely be opposite of how you see it. But how I see it is I see a governmental agency that is attempting to control the people. And this is worldwide. It used to be only in certain pockets of the world. And now it seems to be running rampant everywhere. And so when I see historically what has happened in other communities, other countries, with the way that their government ran and the things that they did to their own people, and I look at how things are occurring in my country, I'm in the United States, and the road that seems to be traveled in this current state, I'm seeing a lot of parallels, which is shocking because the United States is supposed to be the land of the free.
Yeah.
So when we had the pandemic, we had such contrast of people, right? You had the folks that were masking up, getting vaccinated, staying away from everybody, doing all the things. And then you had the ones that were like, screw the masks. You're not jabbing me with your, toxic substance. And my little camera picked up the thumb. That's funny. I don't know how to make that go away, y'all. I'm like, how do I make it go away? Anyway, you saw the two sides of it, right? And, what was really crazy is it really separated and divided the people. One of the things that I think occurred during that time is something called mass formation psychosis, where you have a population that comes together under a narrative, and anything that disagrees with them is bad, should be killed, removed, exterminated.
Yeah.
And so, I think that we had this sort of polarizing experience, and the pandemic really shed a lot of light on how powerful the mainstream media is, how powerful the government can be in cahoots with mainstream media. And I think that this was really a turning point for humanity. Where do we go from there? What's next? Well, We've had crazy election stuff. Some people think there was fraudulent elections. Some people think elections were stolen. Some people think that the elections were exactly as they should be, right? We're having this contrast and this separation of the people living within the community.
Mhm.
The concern that I have about freedom and the potential end to freedom as we know it is that the community is separated. Any good conqueror says you divide and conquer. And that's exactly what's happening. But is it? Right? I think that we're starting to wake people up, and some people are coming around to, oh man, the truth is starting to come out. And so we're having people that are sort of now eyes open going, what do I actually want for my life? And this is the beautiful thing about living in a society with a bunch of other people that outnumber the agencies, organizations, and corruption seekers than any other time, right?
Mhm.
We have all of these people that outnumber those people. So why are we going along with it?
Great question. Lots of good questions inside of there. I think it goes further back than even before we were born. This power play for freedom. You start to think about, why do we do the things that we do? And a lot of it has to do with societal norms, or the way that we were raised, or this deep need to comply. And one thing that popped into my mind when you were like talking about look at our history is the Constitution in the United States says that you have the right, the freedom to travel freely. So why do you have to have a license? Why do you have to have registration? And I'm not saying that don't get a license, don't get registration or anything like that. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that over the last 100 years, I don't know, 90 years, we've slowly eroded away these God-given rights and freedoms that we have here. They've put layer upon layer upon layer upon layer. Like, did you know that in many states and many provinces, I'm from Canada, you actually have to get a permit to collect rainwater? Yeah.
Wow, that's weird.
Well, because you're diverting the natural water system. Well, like if I am collecting a rainwater to then put on my garden that's right beside said rain barrel, doesn't really make sense. That's not really a diversion. Yeah.
No.
It does.
Wow.
It doesn't make sense. Also, we have this huge drive towards, being friendlier to the environment. Wouldn't we open up ways to do that? Why is there layer upon layer of rules? And I mean, who sets the rules? Like when did you agree to a traffic ticket? Jaywalking, whatever, right? Like, when did you agree to these rules that have been set out? And I'm not saying that you shouldn't follow them. What I'm driving at is educating yourself on the history of how we ended up here, how there's been layer and layer and layer of bylaws, sounds like a corporation. Rules that have been laid upon us that we feel so deeply that we must comply with to be a good citizen. And a lot of it is taking away our natural born rights and freedoms. even just, in the county that I live in, they're trying to put rules on what you like, the size of the tree that you can plant. And I live on 110 acres of land. Like my neighbors are cows. So I understand in a small little town, whatever, you put a 1,000-foot tree up. I mean, you wouldn't, because that wouldn't survive. And I don't think that exists. Maybe it does. But I can understand certain rules, but it feels like there's more and more and more that are being layered on top. And I think that a lot of times our society just goes with it, goes with the programming.
Exactly. It's funny, like the programming, like the societal programming and what we were taught to volunteer for, right? Because a lot of these systems and programs and I'm going to call them control mechanisms, if I can be so bold to call them that. This is societal programming, what we were taught through generations. And we were taught to volunteer to be part of it.
Absolutely. Our forefathers, like generations back,
right.
They would have had an uprising.
Right.
You must have a driver's license to drive. Absolutely not. And it's so interesting because something that I have always admired is this I don't even know what the word is, but the way that United States is all about freedom and like my rights as a human and like it just patriotism maybe is the word, like we're free here. And I've always admired that belief system. I admired the way that people represented it in the States. I thought that was so cool how you guys come together as a nation and have this desire to be free or believe that this is a free country. And then you start looking at some of these things and you're like, what is happening? Like, I can't set out a rain barrel. I'm going to get in trouble for that. Now I can't have, like more than 3 vehicles in my yard when I have 100 acres. Like what? Like, you're going to tell me what I can do and when I can do it. Like, it's eroding the God-given fundamental rights and freedoms that we have. And that brings me to the question, or to the thought of coming back to our root and saying, what is freedom for me? Not the rest of society, but for you. What does that freedom look like, and how can you begin to exercise it? How can you begin to walk towards having a freer life?
One of the things when I think about freedom, I think about the future generations. And, I was raised with, return things better than the way that you receive them.
Yes.
And leave things better in the wake of you being a part of it. And that is a family value that was instilled upon me by my parents at a very early age. And my entire family lives by this creed of, do unto others as you wish done unto you, and, leave things better than the way you found them. And it's a beautiful thing because it creates a lot of support and community and love and respect.
Yeah.
And when I look at freedom and what's happening to the freedoms of the world, and especially in my country, I see people so willing to give it up. And what are they doing for the future generations? Are people so like complacent that they can't see that their grandchildren and great grandchildren are going to be living in, a tyrannical environment?
Dictatorship?
Where they're a dictatorship, right? Like, can we not see this happening? And the thing is that, there's so much complacency around what's actually happening. Everyone's just like, oh, I'll just keep my, I'll just keep my head down. I'm not going to say anything, okay, I'll wear the mask. Okay, I'll get the jab. Okay, I'll stay in my house. Okay, I won't work in my job. Okay, I'll go out of business. Okay, yeah, I'm good with that. Right? They literally flexed on us and we all laid down and took it. Are we going to let that happen again? Because don't look at history. Look at history. They have a playbook and they rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. Oh, that worked. Let's do that again. Oh, that worked. Let's do that again. Right? So I guarantee you, I'm going to make a prediction right now. They're coming after your freedom and they're going to do it the same way they did it last time because that's the only way they operate. Mm-hmm. And are you good with that? Are you good with that? Like when I think about having children, which we're on the fertility journey, right? We're trying to start a family. And I think about this for my kids all the time. What kind of world are we leaving them? What are they going to have to grow up in? I look at how ridiculous the world is now and I'm like, Jesus, what? The only thing that I hang on to is my vision of New Earth, like what the world is in a higher density, in a higher dimension, with after the awakening, when everybody awakens to what's really going on and we take the power back.
Yeah.
We're giving it all away, people. We're giving it all away.
Absolutely. And I mean, during the pandemic, I feel for, how for everybody that went through it, which is all of us, everybody in the entire world went through it in a different way. And it was easy to slide into this compliance because it was scary. You didn't know what was going on. I was scared at the very beginning. I didn't know what was going on and I don't want to hurt people and I don't want to, I don't want to put people in harm's way. I have a big heart and I want to help as many people as I can. And then I started to see the cracks. And this is where they really divided us or attempted to divide us is this mass psychosis of, segregating people, making them feel alone and sheltered and fearful. Like all of these things are tactics of war.
Yeah.
They're tactics of torture.
Well, and it's interesting that you talk about tactics of war. From where I sit, this was a declaration of war against the people.
Yeah.
Like, we kind of, you and I on our channel, we sort of sat back and we played the algorithm, don't bring up this word. We got to kind of dance around that topic. And I'm kind of like, F it at this point, because the thing is,
we'll go to Rumble.
Yeah, exactly. Which we may do. So, everybody come on over. But, the thing is like, I feel like they declared war on us. And what are we going to do? Are we all going to lay down in the dirt and let them suffocate us with their knee on our neck? Or are we going to stand together and say, we're not going to take your shit anymore?
Yeah. Absolutely. I've seen clips of like mainstream media. This was from the States, but it was no different here. It was probably like equivalent to California, if not worse, in Canada here with the tyrannical government. All that happened, but the
California was like an extension of Canada. Totally. It was so ridiculous.
It was ridiculous, but like the media, like it was published in big papers. Like, I don't remember which one, but like it was a big one in Canada. Like basically screw the people who decided not to get vaccinated. They should die.
Yep.
Like, are you kidding me? Like, take away the word vaccinated and put something else, anything else. Those who buy a red truck, they should die. Are you kidding? Mm-hmm. Like, this is you exercising your right, your freedom of choice. This is bodily autonomy. Like a truck is just a choice of what you choose to drive daily. It's not your bodily autonomy. Think about the conversation that is happening right now around the world with the gender movement. If you were to say to a transgender person, absolutely not, you cannot change your body, or you must change your body. There's both sides of this. Like, no, there's freedom of choice of what happens with our own body. And that was tested. That was under fire. And I watched this video clip of all of these clips from the news, and celebrities in Hollywood, and these actors and musicians and all of these people who are incredibly influential, and then making fun of, oh, you're an idiot because you don't want to get this and that and whatever. I was physically attacked, not physically attacked, but I was verbally attacked by strangers. Mm-hmm. And those who are on the other side. And I mean, it doesn't matter which side of the argument you're on. If you were, on the, yes, this is the right thing to do for me and my family, there was people on this side attacking. And if you were on the opposite side of, I don't really know, I don't want to do this, there was those people on the other side attacking. It was like we couldn't see each other, we couldn't hear each other, we weren't listening to one another anymore. And we totally went towards the what is good for all, which was it? Let's come back to that in a second. What is good for all must be our highest priority, instead of what is good for us, like taking that decision away from you and your family of what is right for you and your children, for your household, whatever that dynamic looks like for you. You're saying that it's right for somebody else to decide what is right for you? No. And then looking at it now, there's studies coming out that are saying, we probably would have been better off if we did nothing. Absolutely nothing during this pandemic. We would have treated it like a flu. Less people would have died. Mm-hmm. Like, hindsight. Mm-hmm. We don't have all the information. And now I think for me, what this time has done is it has encouraged me to question everything. Food, the government, laws. Why? Just asking the question from a place of curiosity. Why do I do the things that I do?
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that, I had so many things come up while you were talking. I didn't want to interrupt because I've been very interrupting. But
you just interrupted me. Sometimes I just get trained.
The thing is that with everything that we've seen occur since 2020, and I believe that I had channeled information back in 2020 about the virus specifically. And the information that was channeled at that time was this was planned, right? This was planned in the universe. It was all in the cards. This disease was supposed to come, and it was supposed to, recycle souls, is what we were told. And I still believe that to be true. Yeah. What I think happened also, in addition to, is it became a catalyst for the people to see the bullshit that is actually going on in the background, right? This is part of this great awakening that we're having. You can continue to sleep through your life and keep your head stuck in the mud and continue to believe everything that you read and hear and see in the mainstream media. And you can continue to believe and follow all of the things that your government has put out for you. Mm-hmm. Or you can open your eyes and start to see things differently. Explore it. Yeah. Actually explore what's out there. Knowledge has never hurt anybody.
Yes. Agreed. And freedom was about choosing. And one of the things that drives me nuts is when people complain, and I mean, I have done this too. So I'm talking to myself here, whenever you're pointing a finger at somebody else, there's, all these other ones pointing right back at you. Complaining about something that's retarded and then saying, well, there's nothing that you can do. I decided more so recently than ever. I mean, I've been on this path for a while of deciding and choosing for myself, but more so now than ever. I don't want to ever say that again. There's nothing that I can do. So the things that I'm looking at for my life and my freedoms is, where am I attached to somebody else's control? Where am I not in control of my life? Food is the first thing that I came up with. Food. So I'll grow my own, and I'm going to can a bunch. I'm going to learn how to flash freeze and whatever. And most people have a backyard that they could utilize for things like that. Or maybe you don't have a backyard. That doesn't mean that there's nothing that you can do. You are resourceful. There's billions of possibilities that exist. So what about creating a community, a network, perhaps, of people who have access to things that you do not? Because you also have something that maybe perhaps they don't have access to, or that they don't think that they have access to. What can you provide for your community? And then keep moving through your life. How can I take more control? Something else that we've talked a lot about is water, heat, power. Is there anything else that you can do to take more control of your own life? That's
100%. And, there's other areas, like if you can't grow your own food for whatever reason, you live in an apartment, okay, you can't have your own cattle, you can't have your own, garden, you are totally socially inept, so therefore you can't communicate with anybody to figure out a way to, help each other out and form a community and take care of one another. Let's just say you're a hermit that lives in an apartment and has no access to anything. You know where else you can take charge and like exercise your freedoms? Get involved. 90% of the shit that affects you from your government happens in the local level. And where does everybody go to vote? For the president. The president only has a certain amount of power in our country. Now, I know that we're worldwide, so people have different governments. We've got some that have monarchy, some that have, you guys have parliament. I mean, there's a whole difference in governments all over the world. So I'm speaking clearly, I guess, for the Americans. Okay, get involved in what's going on your local level. Like the town that I live in, when we had the last election, the town that I live in never had any contest for the mayorship. What? Our mayor ran uncontested. Nobody even freaking bothered to run against this person. Now, I know nothing about this person. We just moved here. I hadn't had time to get involved in any of the political stuff, right? But looking at that, I was like, wow, isn't that something? Like our town only had one person running and they won by default because it was just uncontested. How many other places is that occurring? And that one individual who came in and swept it because nobody ran against them now sits in the driver's seat of how the city gets ran. Did anybody even look into this person? Is this person a good person, bad person? I'd like to think they're a good person. And that's why nobody ran against them, because they were just so amazing. Everyone was like, yes, please. Okay. Yeah. But, get involved in your local communities. You can't just sit around and go, oh, I'll just wait for the world to end or a new world to come along. Like, that's not a choice.
No. Well, it is a choice.
Well, yeah, it is a choice.
Is it giving you the freedom, your God-given freedoms that you truly desire? Probably not. And you don't even have to know where to start. And I think that applies, Heather, to all countries. They might be designed differently, but there's a way to start learning, like how does this work? And why does it work this way? What's the driver behind this? Like, something that just irritates the crap out of me is that the local food bank in our area will not take food that is not produced or not coming from a grocery store.
What?
Mm-hmm.
So we have all these starving people, and the food bank is like, oh, you grew that? No, sorry. Commercial only.
That is exactly what happened. Mm-hmm.
That's
Right now.
unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Yep. If you want to have a public gathering of some kind and you want it catered, you have to use commercial produced goods.
I think if it were me and I were going to donate to the food bank and I got something like that from them, I would have sat outside the food bank and just handed shit out. Built my own little boxes and been like, on your way out, pick up your box. On your way out, pick up your box.
Yep. Absolutely.
Like here we have people who need this. And I mean, the thing is like the food bank also, I don't know how your food banks work, but our food banks here don't take fresh food. They only take boxed and canned. So it's like pantry food.
Yeah.
So, I don't know about you, but boxed and pantry food is processed. So, you have the stripping of nutrients, the addition of chemicals, to make it shelf stable. And so, when you do that, you've completely changed the value of the food. So what about the fresh food? Like, how are they going to get the fresh food?
They don't.
Yeah, it's a racket. We digress.
Totally. Totally. But it comes back to asking these questions of your life. And what can you do to start taking back that control and gaining freedom for yourself? You don't have to have $1 billion to be free. You just have to ask some questions. And you need to start engaging with how you can be freer, what options are available to you. And there's always a billion possibilities.
Well, and I think too, start with the people around you. Start talking to people around you. What are their views on freedom? Where are they at with the freedom topic? We had an experience where, my husband was getting his hair cut and his barber started talking about some freedom related stuff that we've been working on with you. We have a community of freedom seekers, right? And the thing is that, just in that one simple conversation, we made new friends who are in alignment with our beliefs around freedom and, what is owed to us by being born to this land.
That's right.
So who is in your community?
Freedom.
Your God-given freedom.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. It was never supposed to be that the government controlled you. Who said the government knew better than you?
Yeah, and let's be real. In the United States, for all of you who are still drinking the Kool-Aid, we own the government. Okay? They work for us, not the other way around.
They're your public servants.
That's right.
Remember
That's right. Exactly. Now, if you had an employee working in your business that was frivolously spending money and doing all kinds of bullshit, how long would you employ them? I'd fire their ass so damn fast it'd make their head spin.
Yep.
Why are we letting these asshats continue to run our country? I asked you that. If you want to respond, put it in the comments below. I'm happy to debate this all day long.
Absolutely. Be a part of the conversation. Start asking questions that people aren't asking. You are here specifically at this time for a reason. There is a spark that you are to ignite within the world. Bring it forward, baby. The world is ready. And it's time It's time before future generations and our generation loses freedom completely. The light always wins. So that's not going to happen. And for the light to win, the light needs to come up and out of all of us.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
See
All right.
y'all next week.
Bye, freedom lovers.